So today you'll be hearing from Mayor Keller, AFR Chief Jaramillo, Parks and Rec Director Simon, and APD Chief Cecily Barker. I'll go ahead and get started with Mayor Keller.
Okay, well, a couple of things to start out with here. So number one is, it is of course summer. It's 4th of July weekend is upon us. And unfortunately, of course, it is the hottest part of wildfire season. And we know we're seeing this all over our state and even in the surrounding metro area. So we want to highlight a few things today that, especially as folks go into the holiday weekend, some of it will cover specifically the actual 4th of July, Freedom 4th, things like that in a couple of days. So this is really just general information for July as we go into that holiday. Now, a couple of things to touch on. Number one is a reminder, right? The bosque is one of our most precious resources. We also know it is extremely susceptible to fire danger. And we have learned over the years that the most effective thing in the bosque is actually each other. It is to have eyes and ears in the bosque reporting anything that you see that is suspicious. And this is a big learning from roughly 10 or 15 years ago, right, when people used to say that we should close the bosque, and we actually used to do that, and it actually made things worse because it's so hard to detect things in here. And so really this is, for the last 10 years, been a community effort to make sure we all protect the bosque. And all we need you to do is basically call in any issues or problems that you see. And in general, for the most part, cell phone coverage works and so forth. So this is how we can all work together to help protect the bosque. Now, of course, we're doing our part. We have an open space unit now for the last several years in our police department. They will be doing bosque patrols. We also have our open space officers, or so to speak, we'll call them rangers for now. They're the guys in the brown shirts. And they also do patrols through our Parks and Rec department. And we also have our fire department, which does wildland fire and bosque patrols. And so we also have two things that are relatively new that we wanted to highlight today. Now, the first thing is drones. So we now have drones all over the city that does include the bosque. Now, they have the same challenges that everyone else does in terms of they're less effective at night. They are also can't fly super close to the bosque because there are trees, so nothing is a one-stop solution, but all of it helps. And the drone coverage is absolutely going to be in full force this year and this summer in the bosque. Now, the biggest addition is the expansion and full introduction of the torch fire detection system. This is our automatic fire alert system that we tested last year during fire season and now is in full deployment. We have 18 torch sensors all over the bosque between Alameda and between Dolores Chavez or Bridge. And so these systems are put up in different areas. They look like this. These are what can detect fires now almost throughout the entire bosque right away. These are lifesavers. And as far as we know, we're actually the first city in America to deploy these in a serious, real way. And so our Parks and Rec department is going to talk more about this after, but we're hoping this just continues to make the bosque safer. We know that they do not prevent fires, just to be clear. Obviously, they detect fires, but the sooner we detect them, the sooner we can help contain them and make sure they don't spread. That has historically been the biggest issue in the bosque. It's actually not the number of fires, it's the number of fires that get big and out of control. And that's why these are so helpful. Okay, so actually with that, we just want to remind you that what I outlined to you are the single two things that we continue to use for public safety. Civilians, those would be examples of folks in our Parks and Rec department and our open space team, and also our fire service working on this issue, and technology, which is the torch system. So we continue to use civilians and technology to make us safer in a cost-efficient and expedited way each day. Okay, so with more on that, I'm going to hand it over to first our fire chief, Emily Jaramillo. Chief? I don't know if there's something else in there you might want.
Okay, good. All right, hello everybody. Thank you for being here. And like Mayor said, this The Bosque is important to all of us. I think all of our families enjoy this space. If you look behind me, obviously the river is dry throughout Albuquerque, which is part of the problem that we have with protecting this area. It's just the dry conditions that we have right now. And it really is, just like Mayor highlighted, is a team effort. I'm going to take this note from Mayor to cover the microphone up so you don't get that feedback. So it is a team effort. AFR works very closely with Open Space, with APD, with Parks, with our DTI department on protecting this space. So this year's fire season forecast is expected to be extremely active. We've had several starts already this year leading up to July. It's driven by the metro area's high winds and then these historically hot and dry weather conditions that we're having. AFR has implemented our Wildland Standby Announcement internally as needed to help our preparedness and response out to any incidents that might pop up. We tremendously appreciate our relationship with APD and their drones. When we do have the starts in the Bosque, they've been working with us to get the drones up and identify areas that are hard for us to see where that start is or where the fire is at. I mean, we can see the smoke, but sometimes it's hard to find exactly where it's at. So we've been coordinating quite a bit with APD, and that's really enhanced our response. We've had much quicker response to the seat of a fire this year versus years past. We started level 1 open space patrols on May 2nd of 2026. We started level 2 open space patrols, which increased our coverage and duration of where we're patrolling on June 20th. And then we have additional brush trucks that will be staffed July 2nd through the 5th. Our Wildland Task Force is prepared daily to respond out. We have 34 personnel at 5 Wildland Task Force Stations that can respond out to any of our starts that happen to make sure that we get that quick and efficient response. Something else that we've had to implement this year for the first time in our department is because of the dry conditions with the river, our firefighters rely on drafting water out of the river to extinguish fires along the Bosque. Obviously, there's no water to draft behind us, and there's areas that are a challenge for us to get water to. So thanks to some support from several of our city councilors, we were able to buy a 3,000-gallon water truck. It's called a tender that will help us bring water out to areas that we need it so that this area stays protected even without the water in the river. Just a reminder that stage 1 fire restrictions in Albuquerque open space include no smoking, no fireworks, no open fires, and no camping in the Bosque. And that's year round. That's stage 1 fire restrictions. And with that, we just want to remind everyone to be a good neighbor. Like Mayor said, having people out enjoying this space, running, riding their bikes, all the different reasons that we have people out in the Bosque, that is the great tool that we can use to help report suspicious activity or if they see smoke or anything like that. So we really appreciate everybody that is using this space responsibly, and it really helps us kind of keep everything under control. So with that, I pass it on to Dave Simon, our Parks Director.
Thank you, Chief. First, I just want to say how much we appreciate at Parks and Rec the partnership and the efforts every single day by our first responders, our open space staff who are out here every day protecting the Bosque for present and future generations, and of course bringing it alive through education to our Albuquerque families. Obviously, we're in a drought. In fact, 98% of New Mexico is currently listed in severe drought status. 44% of the state is in extraordinary drought conditions, according to the U.S. Drought Monitoring Network. So this is what has resulted in the river drying in this middle stretch. And You know, these are different conditions for us to recreate in Albuquerque. We think it's a different time for the public to sort of explore the bosque, and an interesting way of viewing our city from the riverbed. People are welcome to walk in the riverbed to get that different perspective on the bosque in our city. We want to remind everybody that off-road, off-highway vehicles are not permitted under any circumstances in the bosque or within the riverbed, and that is something that we will be enforcing during these conditions. The bosque, of course, is one of Albuquerque's most important natural resources. It's also a very sensitive urban wildland interface, which means that fire prevention, early detection, and fast response are essential. So the Open Space Division of the Parks and Rec Department takes a multifaceted approach to protecting the bosque from fire, and that work includes clearing and reducing hazardous fuels where appropriate, improving firefighter access to difficult areas of the bosque, working with multiple agencies and all of our partners, monitoring high-risk areas during the most dangerous parts of fire season, and increasingly using technology to give responders earlier warning when fire starts. Now, this past spring, the Open Space Division completed a significant fuel reduction and restoration project on the east side of the river, north of Campbell Road. We treated about 18 acres. This was among the highest priority areas for treatment based on our studies of fuel loads in the bosque. It's the first phase of a project that will eventually treat about 120 acres on that portion of the east side of the river, and additional work will continue this fall. Open Space will also be completing a project on the west side of the river, basically directly across from us here on the west side of the river, south of Central, and this will be a project that will be done in conjunction with the United States Army Corps of Engineers and the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District. But you know, the bosque is large. The state park has over 3,000 acres in it, and it's difficult to monitor the bosque every minute just with people. So last year, the city began a pilot program with a company called Torch Systems to test outdoor fire detection sensors in portions of the bosque. The Torch system is designed to detect early indicators of outdoor fire, including heat, visual, thermal, and chemical signatures associated with smoke or flame. This gives our teams another set of eyes in the bosque, especially in areas where a fire may start before anyone nearby sees it. Essentially, we can look and we can consider this system of torch sensors is really like an outdoor fire alarm system for the bosque. The pilot that we conducted last year gave us real-world experience in this very challenging outdoor environment. The bosque is not like an indoor closed laboratory. There's all kinds of changing conditions out here: wind and dust and tree cover, public use, changing conditions. And we were able to use the past year working with Torch Systems to evaluate what worked, what needed improvement, and how the technology itself could be improved, and then how could the system better support real-time dispatch and quick field response. So we had 18 sensors out in the bosque for the past year. The pilot was a great success, and in several cases, fires were detected by these torch sensors well before citizen calls came in, and in firefighting, every minute matters. The next step is turning these early detections into even faster notifications, better verification, and quick dispatch to the responders. The city's long-term goal is to significantly expand coverage throughout the bosque corridor. Right now, due to the results of the pilot project and working with Torch, we're now deploying additional second-generation torch detectors while continuing to use the original detectors that were installed last year and are still operating. In fact, Mayor, we have some updated numbers. We now have a total of 29 torch sensors deployed in the Bosque between Dolores Huerta and Central. And this newer version includes technology improvements that incorporate lessons learned from the pilot. So this little device here is really worth its weight in gold. We now have these 29 sensors in place. 30 more are in shipment and should arrive next week, and we'll deploy those as rapidly as we can in the Bosque. And depending on final placement, funding, and the field conditions and the needs we see, the city could eventually deploy up to 90 sensors within the next few months to cover the priority areas from Dolores Huerta all the way north to Alameda. This technology is being deployed strategically in areas where it can provide the greatest fire protection and the greatest response value. This is really about giving our firefighters and land management teams better information sooner so they can protect the Bosque, protect nearby neighborhoods, and respond before a small fire becomes a major emergency. Thank you. We'll now hear from APD Chief Barker.
Good afternoon, everybody. One of the things about going last is most of my points have already been covered, and so I'm going to speak most specifically to what APD is doing, but I do want to thank Mayor, Director Simon, and AFR for their collaboration and the commitment they have to keeping the Bosque safe. As Mayor noted behind us, and I know Chief Jaramillo said as well, obviously there's not water this year. Typically when we come, we talk about the water in the river and the safety there. What we're going to talk to you about today is the safety of the Bosque and what APD is doing to keep things safe. So we have our open space team, which includes our conservation officers as well as PSAs that are assigned specifically to work in this area and keep the community safe. As they're working together to provide resources and education, they also address any unlawful encampments that are in the area. So we also work with ACS as well to ensure that people are provided resources when needed. When we're talking about our PSAs and the work that they do in the open space area, it's really important because they get ahead of things and they're proactive. So they assist us with trash referrals, camp cleanups, graffiti referrals, parking lot patrols, low-level citations, and gate closures. And those are all really important when it comes to the safety down here. They're also an extra set of eyes. My daughter and I are constantly in the Bosque running, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, and we'll see a PSA drive by or one of our officers behind us. And it's always good to know that we have officers out there protecting us as well. Over the last several weeks, we've conducted several active patrols throughout the Bosque and implemented additional overtime shifts to ensure safety. As you saw behind us, we did have a motorized vehicle that was in the riverbed, and that is illegal. You all weren't able to see, but all of the officers behind you got a grin and were pointing like, I want to go after them. And so these patrols that they do are focused on preventing issues before they become emergencies. Since that we've started these patrols in the last few weeks, we have made 19 arrests and issued over 220 citations related to violations observed in the Bosque and its surrounding areas. This includes 23 illegal camp cleanups and referrals as well. We've also received the reports about the operating UTVs, and the Bosque Patrol has been out here to address those. We're looking forward to the 4th of July holiday, and we'll have officers assigned with AFR, as Chief Jaramillo said, in four quadrants of the city. It's going to allow both AFR and AFD to respond to reports of illegal fireworks and to conduct enforcement when it is needed. I want to remind everybody here that public safety is a shared responsibility. Our officers will be out working to keep our community safe, but we need everybody's help. So as you're out in the Bosque or in your neighborhood, please call 311 and report any criminal activity that you see or use of illegal fireworks. Please follow all fire restrictions and only use legal fireworks that are approved in certain areas and stay out of restricted areas, and we thank you all.